welcome back to the Lipoedema podcast. We're your host, Shell.
And Tiana, and we are at it again with no guest. If you listened to our recap of day 2, today's episode is all about a behind-the-scenes look at the Lipoedema Australia 2024 conference from the perspective of Shell and I as co-hosts of the Lipoedema podcast.
Yeah, so when all this first happened, like they because we're new to this, like we're new to all of these things. We've never been to a conference before. And so when all the call outs came for if people wanted to do things and what they, if you could contribute, like I was filling in all the forms, like, yes, I want to be a part of everything. And then when we slowly got accepted to do all these things, yeah. So I ended up, I was a speaker. I couldn't be in the fashion show because it was the same time as my speaking engagement. I did a fashion shoot at the gala dinner and then a fashion shoot the following day. So yeah, and we wanted to see everybody, so we had to divide and conquer so that we could get as much information and see as many of the amazing presenters as we could.
Yeah, and we had, Jen was one of our first guests on the Lipoedema podcast. So Jen being the board chair of Lipoedema Australia. So we knew that, like, we were aware that we had been fully embraced by Lipoedema Australia from the beginning and forever grateful. So whenever, when we finally committed to going to the conference, we were sort of like, what can we do to help? Like, let us know. Is there anything you need? And then they sort of gave us permission to do whatever we wanted to do. But then we got this little advertisement that they put together saying that we'd be there. So they advertised our presence. And I forget that what we do is a thing, like, which sounds really silly, but I just still feel like Mr. Nobody who's just a lipedema warrior like everybody else. Like, we wanted to go because we genuinely wanted to go as warriors. And all of a sudden we are the stars of the Lipedema podcast. And I thought, oh my God, we better do something.
Yeah, that was a wild ride. So are we going to go from when we arrived, or are we going to talk about our trip there and getting ripped off by?
Oh my God, let's talk about it. So first of all,
it was 3 things, wasn't it? There was 3 things that happened. Oh, so first we overpacked. So on the way there, I'm quickly trying to add baggage to Tiana's ticket because I had baggage. Oh, because I also had a canvas produced take with us to get signed. Like, that was the other thing I put out there. And so I had baggage so we could take the canvas. And then Tiana's like, oh, I think my bag's a little heavy for overhead luggage, for carry-on. So we decided to add luggage to her ticket. Yeah. But then we got there, it wasn't accepting our luggage, and it turned out because we were so close to our time, I'd add luggage to the way back. And so it kept like spitting our luggage back at us saying that we had too much luggage. And so we just could not figure it out. And then luckily a lovely lady come to help us. And it turned out that, we hadn't paid for extra luggage for Tiana's bag. So poor Tiana had to go and sort all that out. But the lady was really helpful. And she said to me, oh, because the canvas wasn't too big to go in normal luggage, but she said, oh, the guys with oversized stuff will take better care of it, so maybe take it to them. So I'm like, oh, okay. And so I go to the oversized luggage man, and I explain to him, like, oh, I know it's not over the meter it's supposed to be, but they told me that you would take better care of it. And the look he gave was like, yeah, right.
Oh, bless
But it arrived. So that was number 1.
Look, honestly, I think
the flight was on time.
Number 1 for me was waking up in the morning feeling unwell. Like, I woke up in the morning and I was coughing like a seal. I had like that terrible cough that my kids get when they get sick. And Matt just looked at me and went, my husband just looked at me and went, oh no, are you getting sick? I'm like, there's nothing I can do. We have to persevere. We have to get it done. And so, like, I was trying to take it easy and not be stressed and everything, like dealing with a flight and, um, yeah, trying to conserve your energy, knowing that it was going to be the biggest weekend and I wanted to be fully present. I was like, this is going to be tough. So we got to the airport, we got the baggage situation sorted. The flight, as you said, Shell, was pretty good, pretty uneventful, although it did take us a long time to board the flight.
Yeah. Yeah. They needed the cabin crew to do another flight first, so they must have been short on staff. So we were standing, I think, for about 20 minutes in the line. So lucky we had, I had compression socks. Oh, which actually went off in the scanner, and I looked at. She said, "Do you want to see the heat sensor?" And my calves were on fire. It was so
Because of your
funny.
double
She's like,
compression. That's
because
amazing.
yeah. And she said, "Oh, do you want to go into a room?" I'm like, "No, you can pat me down here." It's okay.
So you had your flat knits on and some high knee midi socks, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. And I've only got one pair of compression that fit me now over my pregnancy tummy. So I ended up pretty much living in the midi knee high socks, which are only class 1, but it's better than nothing. So all weekend I was wearing those socks and they did really well for me on the flight, I must say.
Awesome.
But we also, as much as you give yourself enough time to get to a flight, the time just goes and we didn't get an opportunity to like grab something to eat. So whilst we were on the flight, it was lunchtime and we spent way too much money on the shittest food. Like, flight food sucks. Don't do it.
Oh, and it took 20 minutes
That's
to
right.
heat up, like to do a toasty and heat up Tiana's veggie sausage roll.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it wasn't great. So just don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So we arrived in
And then,
Melbourne and we were like, well, let's get a cab because, you know, it'll be the quickest way there. And I swear our cab driver was trying to rip us off because he pretended that something had happened to his ATM machine, his card machine. And we were sitting in the cab for almost 25 minutes waiting for him to sort the machine out. And once he quote unquote finally sorted it out, which is when Shell got out of the car, all of a sudden it miraculously worked. He'd overcharged us by like $25, $30. And I was like, that's not how much it was. He goes, oh, sorry, like I can't get it back. Can you just pay and I'll give you cash back? And so I just wanted to get out of there, which is how they get you. I should have been
yeah.
stronger. Anyway, I just tapped my card and then he gave me $20 cash back. But he was not a very nice man and it was not a very nice start to our Lipoedema Australia conference.
And it's so hard because you want to be kind and understand to everyone. But 25 minutes was really pushing it. And I was even, because he showed us the machine and it said it needed his ABN. And so I asked him his name and Googled the ABN lookup, but he gave me a name that was different. I don't know what. He was just really, and he even said to us, have you been here before? Or do you come? Oh, he made some reference to us being travelers. And I was like, dude, seriously?
Dodgy. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, it was only when I'd had enough. I'm like, let's go, let's get our stuff out of the boot. And he didn't release the boot, but then miraculously, the machine started working.
So get an Uber next time, people. Don't get
Uber.
a cab. Yeah, they're
Uber,
cheeky.
Didi, something that you know ahead of time how much it's going to cost, and you don't have to worry about payments with them.
So we were lucky enough to have our accommodation at the Pullman, which is where the conference was. So we didn't have to like travel back and forth. The Pullman was lovely. The staff were very helpful. Our room was great. We had like 2 king size beds, so we got to spread out. And we had like a little desk where we ended up recording episode 47, which is our recap of day 1 together. The bathroom was a big size. Like the amenities were great at the Pullman.
And fluffy robes.
Oh, fluffy robes. And the slippers as well. So good. Loved it.
So yeah, it was. We didn't even get to see the pool. Like I'd wanted to go
That's
for a
true.
swim, and like we were flat strapped the entire time. So we'd messaged Laura because after being on the plane and we were hungry and we wanted snacks because we had no idea what we were stepping into. So we wanted to make sure we had some snacks. So we needed to go to a supermarket. So I messaged Laura from Elegance Lymphatics because we knew she was there and she had a car. So she said, yep, we'll take you. She'll take us to get some food. So we sort of arrived, said some hellos, and then we got out of there just for a few minutes to go and buy some snacks. Little did we know that we were going to be fed on tap the entire weekend. There was food at every corner. It was like, oh, it's morning tea. Oh, it's lunch. Oh, it's afternoon tea. Oh, dinner, canapes. It was just like,
yeah, and we didn't
beautiful
understand
food.
that because we bumped into Jen, the chair of Lipoedema Australia, and said hello and said we're just going to pop off like to the shops and get some snacks. And I like pointed to my tummy. I'm like this girl needs to eat. And she said, we've set up a booth for you. They'd set up a
That's right.
table for Shell and I, like in the exhibition part. And we weren't expecting a booth, like how generous of them to do, like have a section for us. And then I felt really bad that we were sort of leaving like at registration to get food. She's like, well, we have canapes coming, but we've set up a booth for you. And I was like, we've got to get back. We have to hurry up and get back. We can't be out for very long because they've done this for us. They've set up a booth and we've got to be there to meet and greet everyone. And so I started to get a bit stressed about that. But anyway, we ended up getting food. It didn't take that long and we still got to meet and greet some people afterwards.
It was like an episode of The Amazing Race. It's like we had down what we needed to do. We found a car park. We got in there. We got out. Record time. It was pretty sensational. Friday night, Melbourne traffic, and we nailed it. Well, Laura nailed it because she was the driver.
Yeah, she was the driver. And
but yeah,
screw, I would not like to drive in Melbourne traffic personally.
So, yes, so we had a booth. So
We had a booth.
we got back.
We had no signage for the booth. We weren't prepared for the booth. We should have maybe had like a pop. Everybody else had such great like paraphernalia for their businesses, and Shell and I were just standing there in our Lipoedema Australia t-shirts with our little business cards, like, this is our booth.
This is us. But I think that was the beauty of it. And yeah, it was so weird. On that first night, we met in person like so many people that we have interviewed on the podcast, because even Tiana and I have only met like 7 times in person, which is totally bizarre. And so we're meeting all these people. And I think about 5 times someone said to me, oh, you guys are taller than I expected. I'm like, yeah, well, you're used to just listening to us or seeing us on a little screen. So yeah, we're both, are you 5'9" as well, Tiana? Or 5'10"?
Yeah, I'm about that. Yeah, I'm pretty tall.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm 5'9". So yeah, it's like, yeah, we're pretty tall girls.
We're tall. Yeah. That was so funny, and it was so nice to see people in person for sure. And similarly, you don't understand like the proportions of people when you're seeing them online. So there were a few people that I thought were taller than I imagined them to be as well, which was really strange. It's so strange to see people in the flesh when you're used to seeing them online.
Yeah. And another thing I didn't expect was we had some fangirls. Like, there were girls coming up to us and going, oh my God, are you Shelley or Tiana? I listen to you all the time. I can't believe I'm meeting you. I was like, oh my God, seriously? Oh, yes, I'm Shelley and this is Tiana. And it was beautiful, like that they knew our voices. And even we were sitting at a table and we're chatting about something and something came up and they go, oh, you're the podcast? Oh my God, you're the podcast.
It really took me by surprise. And I didn't get used to it all weekend. Like every time someone new came up to me or us, and with that response, I was just like, oh, us? Like me? yeah, I speak on this I just speak on this podcast. Yeah, I didn't realize you listened.
Yeah, and it was beautiful because it just shows to us that we are making an impact, that this little thing we decided to do is helping people. It's building community. It's, yeah, I'm honored. Honored, is that the word? Humbled.
Humbled, for
Humbled that
sure.
us just sitting here having a chat about topics and inviting people to come and chat with us is, giving hope and giving, I don't know, some entertainment
Yeah,
to the lipedema community.
I
So yeah.
agree. And I was so running on adrenaline that first night after the flight, and um, it was sort of everything was new and exciting and meeting everyone. And I didn't sleep very well that night. Like, we got to bed at a good time. We got to bed at a sensible hour. I could have slept the whole night. I had a whole bed to myself. Like, we were set up to have the best sleep, and I didn't have the best sleep. Mind you, it's a bit hard to have the best sleep when you're 20, almost 28 weeks pregnant and can't breathe through your nose or your mouth. But it felt like such a missed opportunity to be in this beautiful space and this massive bed with all these pillows surround. I had 5 pillows surrounding me in every direction, and I was just wide awake with adrenaline.
It did feel like that. And it was beautiful and dark too. It was so dark. It was amazing. Even we went to breakfast on the last morning. Was that Sunday morning? We went to breakfast at 7:00 and the moon was up and it was dark. I'm like, are we seriously having breakfast or are we having dinner? It was the weirdest thing because in Queensland, we still our sunset or our sunrise is still just after 6. And this is 7:00 and still dark. It was wild.
Bizarre.
It was wild.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the Saturday was the biggest day because it started with a keynote breakfast at 7 a.m. and then it finished with the gala dinner, which didn't start till 7:30. So we just went. We went to all of the lectures that we could, all of the sessions, and then in our morning tea, lunch, and afternoon breaks, we tried to do as many roving interviews as we could, to contribute. Well, how are we supposed to contribute? They've given us a booth, we need to do something. So we decided to do some roving interviews. And then before we got ready for the gala dinner, we actually recorded episode 46. Which was the recap of the first day. So it was from go to woe, the biggest day. And I think the adrenaline was pretty high on that day too, but I knew that my voice would intermittently just disappear completely.
Yeah.
And then it would sort of come back. And I had a few of my friends who were at home and they follow on my lipedema journey as well. They're like, you sound so different. And I'm like, mate, I can hardly talk / breathe, but we will persevere. So every time I lost my voice, I was like, Shell, can you do this one? You talk for us. So if you came up to me and I wasn't talking very much, it was simply that I just couldn't make a sound without hurting my voice.
And also, Tiana and I are very similar in we have to really watch our social batteries because we're very empathic, and so we take on a lot of energy and it does deplete us. So Saturday, as you said, we were still running on adrenaline, so we did so much on Saturday. We were eating while we were interviewing and talking and meeting people and we wanted to see everything and do everything, and we really spread ourselves super thin on
And
Saturday.
I think people may have seen evidence of that on Sunday, because we would, if Shell and I were sitting together by ourselves, we would be looking straight and not talking to each other and just conserving our energy. But then someone would come up to us and we'd turn it on and be like, "Oh my god, hi! Like, thank you so much for coming out to us. It's so nice to meet you." And then they would go away, and we just like blank stare. And it was
Yeah.
such a funny, like, it was such a funny up and down moment, even in the aeroplane. Like, I found you and I sitting there trying to conserve our energy, and then we would have a chat, and the chat would be so dynamic, but then it would cut off, and we just like stare out into space again. So Sunday was a lot of that, like a lot of just trying to conserve our energy. And I got a little bit unwell and had to leave Tara's talk in the afternoon and Miss Linda Ann Carnes. I just needed to have a bit of a rest. I ended up falling asleep on a couch downstairs for about half an hour. So I was just feeling so unwell. And then I was like, I have to go back. I have to like make the most of this. This is the last, few sessions. And I still had people on my list that I wanted to introduce myself to, like give our cards to, etc. I'm like, you gotta persevere. Keep going, keep going.
And needless to say, on Sunday, we didn't do any roving interviews.
No.
We didn't get to that. But we did get an amazing opportunity. There's a documentary being made, and we got the opportunity to pull up our pants and put it on. And we said a little bit for the documentary, which was amazing to be asked to contribute. They were getting stories from lots of different warriors and contributors. So I was glad we got to do that.
Yeah, so was I, and I hope that we can have them on to talk more about the documentary as guests, because I think that's going to be so interesting. So hopefully we can make that happen, like sooner rather than later. But we got so
Absolutely.
many wonderful warriors come up to us willing to share their stories on our podcast. So we've got a lot to do in terms of scheduling, because we are fully booked until we take a little break for my maternity leave, which will be sometime in September. So we may not have episodes sort of from October onwards. We're not sure what exact date we're going to finish up. And we're also not sure what date we're going to come back, because if I'm feeling great, like I'm happy to do more episodes toward the end of the year. But if baby doesn't sleep, like I'm just not sure what's going to happen. So we have to keep it open. But to all the lovely people that came up to us and have already emailed us to book in for episodes, you will not be forgotten. We will book you in. We just got to work out like the tolerance levels of this new sort of journey we're going to go on in the later part of the year.
Yeah, that's right. And Tiana, like she's my person. She's amazing, and she actually did say to me, "How about you get a temporary host?" And I'm like, "And no, we are the Lipoedema podcast, so we go on maternity leave."
I loved when you would say we're going on maternity leave.
Like we get to go on maternity leave. and I think anyone who's just coming across us now, we're going to have nearly 50 episodes in our back catalogue. So there's going to be plenty for people to listen to. And yeah, when we come back, we're back.
Yeah, when we come, and
Yeah.
we'll keep you we'll keep you updated on social media. So maybe like during this time, the best way to keep in touch with us is via our Instagram page. Because if all of a sudden there's just not an episode, you'll know that like we've stopped recording because I've had my baby, and we'll update you on our social media about when we might be back, when we know we'll be back.
And we'll introduce baby.
Oh my God. Well, look, I'm envisaging everything to go so smoothly and amazing, and me to feel amazing like a month after giving birth, that we will simply be back, within like 4 to 6 weeks, and I'll just have like maybe baby with me while we're recording, and baby won't cry at all, because I deserve to have a baby that doesn't cry this time.
Yes, put it out into the
Easy
universe,
baby.
babe.
Yeah.
Yeah, manifest that. That.
I'm gonna.
So I alluded to something exciting in the last episode.
Tell me.
And the exciting thing was that There's another conference next year.
Yeah, they're going to do them
Canberra
on the
2025.
odd years rather than the even years. And instead of us waiting for 3 years, they're actually doing one next year. So now, like, we have to scramble to, like, make this happen again in 12 months'
Yes.
time.
But I think it being our second time round, we'll do things a bit differently. Like, we'll show up a bit more as the Lipoedema podcast, less as warriors going to all the segments. I really want to be there more for the community. And I'm in seeing that they the beautiful board like gave us that space, that maybe next time we could ask for like two or three chairs and have like a little come sit with the Lipoedema podcast and have some chats. If they want to share their stories, we can record stories. And yeah, that's something I might put forward when all that starts happening.
Yeah, that would be so
Yeah.
amazing and ideal. Like, if we can make that happen, and we'll probably have to conserve our energy. Like, it's so hard because this year's schedule was so dynamic and amazing. Like, we wanted to go to every single session. And so heading to the next one as the Lipoedema podcast and not getting that opportunity, hopefully, like, we'll just have to take advantage of the recordings, like, which is great. But yeah, we're going to have to conserve our energy.
Yeah, we can't do it all. Like, we tried to do it all this time and then crashed on Sunday. So we definitely, yeah.
It's
So
going to be so fun. And I will have like a 10-month-old. So we'll try and make that. It's in Canberra. So we'll try and work that out. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
I'm keen. We'll just have to work out logistics.
Yeah, we'll make it work, because being amongst all those amazing women, and I just want to say that Lipoedema Australia board, the work that went into that conference, not only behind the scenes, not only leading up to it, on the day, on the night, like they still had so much energy. They were giving so much that entire time. And oh my God, those women were sensational. Like, absolutely
They really
sensational.
brought their best selves to the event every single day. So commendable to all of the work that they do on a volunteer basis. Like, they are volunteers. I find that absolutely amazing. So much respect for them. And also, I just find I have so much gratitude for them for embracing us so wholly, so quickly. And it still surprises me every time, we speak to one of them and I think, oh my gosh, they actually like us, which is so silly.
But it was like they knew us as well. Like, there was this familiarity. But I actually felt that with nearly everyone I met. It was like we have this connection that goes beyond meeting in person. It was beautiful. Like, I felt embraced and welcome the entire weekend, even when, like, on Sunday, we were conserving our energy so that we could be present when someone came to talk to us. Like, that was embraced as well. And do you know, this has gone on a bit of my tangent, but I'm a special education teacher and counsellor, and something I've been trained in and love using with my students is called the spoon theory. And I heard it so many times over the weekend. I was like, I'm with my people. So I'll quickly tell you what the spoon theory is. And it's like, we get 10 spoons to start our day. Like, we get 10 spoons in a day, and how we use those spoons are up to us. And we have to understand that sometimes we use all our spoons and we may not have more to go on, which is what happened to Tiana and I on Sunday. Like, we had no spoons left.
No spoons.
Our spoons were done, and we had to conserve our energy to get some spoons back to make the trip home. And so to even be amongst people you've never spoken to before, but have that language and that understanding, and I'm just still so, I don't know. Love. Look, I've got hearts on my t-shirt and on my cardi, and I think
Yay.
that's what I'm feeling. Just so much love for this community, for these people that were strangers, but weirdly family.
Yeah.
It felt like
And
family. Yeah.
it did feel like family. And I guess, like, not being super well at the moment could have really put like a dampening lens on the whole thing. But when people ask me how my weekend was, my feedback is that it was genuinely the most amazing weekend. And the fact that I was sick was just such a real bummer, but it didn't take away from any of the experiences, the amazing experiences that I had. It just took away from like the energy I could put into it rather than like I got so much out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Mm.
So I can't imagine how, people newly diagnosed, because I've heard of people newly diagnosed going to these things, and just imagine like if they walk away feeling like we do, just that I'm not alone, that there are these people that get me. And another thing that I really want to start shining more light on is the diversity between us. Like, I know we
Mm.
say it lots of times that we all come to this at different stages. We all have like these multifaceted lives. But I also think that we need to understand that we all present very differently. And that's part
Mm.
of that whole acceptance stuff. And that um, there's room here for all of us from stage 1 to stage 4 and all around. Like, we all deserve to be here. No one's suffering should be diminished because they aren't as advanced or because they're more advanced. That, like, we all deserve to be here, and that's the sisterhood we really want to develop. And there's no room for throwing shade. There's just no room for that. There really isn't.
And if there is any of that, like, because, that happens, like, people who throw shade, it's based off insecurity. And we know that as like a deep rooted thing. But here at the
Yeah.
Lipoedema podcast, we do not assign to any of that. Like, everybody is welcome. We are here to facilitate discussion and to be like a platform for your voice. So there is none of that happening here, and I didn't see any of that happening at the conference because we have such a great community. Yay! And then we caught a flight, and then we went home, and then we went to sleep. The end.
The end. But the flight was stuck on the runway for how long? 50 minutes, 30 minutes.
Way too long. I was getting so impatient, and I was trying to like sleep, and then I was conscious that if I fell asleep I would probably like snore so loud because I can't breathe properly, and so I was like, don't fall asleep, it'll be very embarrassing.
And I needed to go to the toilet, and Tiana wouldn't
That's
let
right.
me
Oh, because I
because
had anxiety that we wouldn't get on the flight. They would tell us not to get on the flight.
they kept telling us last call, but we still stood there for like 20 minutes, and I could see
Yeah.
the toilet sign, but Tiana wouldn't let me go because what if there was a line at the toilets? What if I fell over? Like, she was being a bit of a panic bunny, and she
I'm a
was
bit
looking after
dramatic.
me. And then we got stuck on the runway for like 20 minutes, so I had to hold on even longer.
Yeah.
And then
Just
when I
think of
went,
those
all I
pelvic
could
floor exercises.
And then when I finally got to the toilet, they were all getting all the carts ready for food preparation, so I couldn't go because I got stage fright that they'd hear me.
Oh no. Oh, it's so
It's okay.
awkward.
It's okay. We got home, we had a great night's sleep, and yeah, I didn't wake up till 7:30 this morning, and I'm usually up before, like, I'm usually up at 5:30.
Yeah. Yeah. I woke up numerous times, but I didn't wake up fully and get out of bed until about 8:30, and that is unheard of in my world.
Yeah.
Like, that just doesn't happen. So, and now we've hoarded some episodes. We've done 3 episodes in 3 days, and then we're going live with Shell's conference presentation. So over the next 4 weeks, this will be the last one. So the second last one, I don't know.
Second last. Yeah.
Yeah, so the past 2 weeks you've heard our recap. Today, obviously, we're doing behind the scenes, and the next one is Shell's presentation at the conference. And this is all because Shell is going on a holiday for 4 weeks, celebrating her 50th birthday. So by the time you are listening to this, Shell will have reached her milestone. So happy birthday, Shell.
Thank you. And hopefully you hear from me again, because I am swimming with whale sharks in Exmouth for my birthday. My actual birthday day, I am in the water with whale sharks.
That is going to be so awesome. I can't wait to hear all about. We'll have to get an update on your holiday and your lipedema, because when we're on holidays, everything's a little bit different. We'll be on flights. We'll get a little update from your lipedema when you're back.
Yes, I will have so much to share. Share. And this will be at the end. I was going to say, selfless plug. If you follow me on Instagram, it's all going to be on there. So that'll be all things lipedema.
Yeah, follow Shell, all things lipedema. Yay. Very good. Well, Shell, I think we should sign off.
Okay, we should. Bye.
Right, until next time. Bye.
When we started the Lipoedema podcast, we relied on word of mouth and existing connections.
Our following has happened organically, and we are so honoured by your support.
As we learn more about the world of social media and algorithms, we have a request.
When you are listening to our podcast or watching on YouTube, let us know what you think.
Hit follow or subscribe.
Leave us a comment or write a review.
The more engagement we get, the more our message is shared.
And the greater our reach to those women suffering in silence.
Thank you for listening to the Lipoedema podcast. Lipedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced in this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shelley and Tiana from the Lipoedema podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.